The history of airbending. Airbending, one of the four elemental bending arts, is the aerokinetic ability to control and manipulate air. The peaceful air nomads utilize this type of bending in their everyday lives. Air is the element of freedom. The air nomads detach themselves from worldly problems and concerns. Finding peace and freedom was the key to solving their difficulties in life. Airbenders continually sought spiritual enlightenment, and as a result, all children born into the air nomads were benders. The first airbenders learned their art from the flying bison. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going over the history of airbending. Before we begin, we publish new content every week, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. During the era of Rava, the power of air was temporarily bestowed on the inhabitants who lived on a giant lion turtle while they left the village to stock up on food. After permanently leaving the care of the lion turtle, the former inhabitants eventually learned airbending from the flying bison, a sacred creature in the air nomad culture. The bison typically use their massive beaver-like tail to create gusts of wind, and as the name suggests, can fly without any visible means of propulsion. It is also said that the airbenders borrowed the arrow mark from the flying bison for the design of their traditional tattoos. These markings symbolize one's mastery of the airbending art and are given to a practitioner once their training is complete. Unlike other nations, all air nomads were born as airbenders due to the culture's strong ties to spirituality. Historically, young airbenders were raised in one of the four air temples at each corner of the globe. Hidden away atop mountain ranges on remote islands, the strong breezes in these areas helped with their airbending training. The northern and southern air temples were exclusively male and staffed by airbender monks, who instructed young benders in their art, while the eastern and western air temples were exclusively female. However, the Council of Elders had decided that Aang would finish his training at the Eastern Air Temple, and it was at the same temple where he and several other young boys were first introduced to their animal companions, the flying bison. An airbender is declared a master once he or she has fully mastered the 36 tiers of airbending, and/or when he or she creates a new airbending technique. Aang was an exception to the rule, as he had mastered only 35 tiers, but his creation of the air scooter technique fulfilled the requirements for mastery. Airbenders who have mastered the element are marked as such by blue tattoos along the head and limbs, terminating in an arrow on the forehead, backs of the hands, and tops of the feet. However, this does not apply to avatars born outside of the air nomads. Male monks sport completely shaven heads, and female airbenders shave their foreheads, but they leave the back of their hair uncut. Air nomads generally espouse a philosophy of conflict avoidance and respect for all forms of life. An airbender will never seek a fight, and they will never seek to strike an opponent directly. This accounts for airbending's emphasis on the defensive maneuvers and its apparent lack of fatal finishing attacks. Due to the spirituality of the air nomads in accordance with the size of its population, every air nomad retains bending abilities, though their skills can deteriorate if they lose this spiritual awareness. The air nomads have the smallest population but the most increased spirituality, while benders in general make up only a small percentage of the larger, more populous nations. Airbenders emphasize intuition and imagination. To an airbender, there is always another path to take, as air flows wherever it can. This makes airbending the most dynamic of all the bending arts, and air itself is considered to be the element of freedom. The Air Nomad Genocide. In 0 AG, the airbenders were victims of genocide at the hands of the Fire Nation. The temples were invaded, and all the airbender monks slaughtered in an effort to break the Avatar's cycle of reincarnation and ensure the Fire Nation's victory in their imperialist war. A number of airbenders managed to survive the initial massacre and fled into hiding, but they were later lured into mountainous areas with relics from home and killed. Ironically, the only known survivor of the massacre is the same person the Fire Nation sought to kill in its quest for supremacy, the 12-year-old airbender and avatar, Aang. Aang had run away from home shortly before the war began in earnest, and became trapped in suspended animation, frozen in an iceberg near the South Pole. The last known vestiges of airbender culture included one surviving flying bison, Appa, and a winged lemur, Momo, both of whom were Aang's companions. The abandoned northern air temple was colonized by displaced Earth Kingdom citizens led by the Machinist. The eastern air temple was inhabited by Guru Pathik, who claimed to be an old friend of Monk Gyatso. The southern air temple is the only temple in which bodies of countless Fire Nation soldiers and Monk Gyatso's corpse are present. Years later, Aang found an island filled with healthy flying bison and ring-tailed winged lemurs, which indicated that Appa was not the last surviving flying bison. Even 170 years after the Air Nomad Genocide, airbending culture survived through Aang's youngest son, Tenzin, and Tenzin's children, of whom the eldest three are known to be Airbenders. The Air Acolytes were also formed by Aang to carry on the traditions of Air Nomad culture. Tenzin's family and some of the Air Acolytes reside at Air Temple Island in Republic City, while most of the Acolytes live in each of the 4 ancient air temples. Prior to harmonic convergence, Tenzin's family were the last Airbenders and were thus targeted by Ammon in an effort to effectively erase one of the 4 bending arts from the world permanently. However, after harmonic convergence, the ability to airbend re-emerged again across the world after a large number of non-benders, including Aang's son Bumi, obtained the ability. Rebuilding the Air Nation. After the harmonic convergence of 171 AG, numerous non-benders across the world suddenly discovered that they had airbending abilities. Korra, Tenzin, and the rest of Team Avatar set out to find these people and convince them to train with Tenzin at the Northern Air Temple and help restore the Air Nation. Their quest proved to be largely unsuccessful, as nobody wished to give up their existing lives, save for a young boy named Kai. In Ba Sing Se, the Dai Li had been kidnapping the new Airbenders and trained them underneath the Earth Queen's temple to form Earth Queen Hao Ting's first Airbending regiment. After Team Avatar discovered this practice, they freed all the captives, after which the new Airbenders all agreed to go to the Northern Air Temple to learn the way of the Air Nomads. Initially, progress was slow as Tenzin struggled to motivate them with his teachings, though after they all banded together to rescue flying bison calves from bison rustlers, Tenzin and the new Airbenders found a new dynamic as master and students. 2 weeks after Zahir was taken down by Korra, Tenzin announced that the Air Nation would reclaim its nomadic roots and roam the Earth, promoting peace, balance, and harmony, while Korra recuperated from her fight with the Red Lotus. He also anointed his daughter Jinora as an airbending master, stating she would help them follow their new path. Airbending training. Several objects can be used to assist an airbender to hone their abilities and master the art. The airball court serves as both a field for playing airball and a way to train several skills involved in airbending, such as balance and dexterity. Airbenders can also improve their accuracy, as the ball is mostly controlled by airbending. Spinning gates are a training tool that emphasize an airbender trusting their evasive maneuvers if they wish to successfully make their way through. Those wishing to master the spinning gates have to be like a leaf, flowing with the wind instead of forcing one's way through. Weapons. Unlike benders of other nations, who rarely use weapons in conjunction with their bending, airbenders commonly use their signature staffs to augment their powers in battle. The increased force generated by swinging the staff transfers more energy to the resulting air blasts. With the staff's narrow profile, the currents can be more accurately controlled and even shaped into blade-like crescents of air, capable of cutting through solid objects. Metal fans can also be used in combination with airbending, as demonstrated by Avatar's Kyoshi and Aang. While Team Avatar browsed a weapons shop in the Fire Nation, Aang proposed the idea of a wind sword. He stated that an airbender could channel air from a sword hilt and swing it about like a blade, similar to a contained air slice. Weaknesses. Though deemed the most dynamic of the bending arts, the most controversial aspect of airbending is its supposed lack of fatal moves, being a more defense-inclined art. This aspect in itself is a reflection of the principles held by the Air Nomads, which preaches the preciousness of all life and avoidance of violence whenever possible, and who were, apart from the Avatar and prior to harmonic convergence, the only people to possess the ability. This does not mean that airbending is non-lethal, as there have been instances where an airbender has resorted to brute and even lethal force during a conflict. For example, Monk Gyatso took down several Fire Nation soldiers during their attack on the Southern Air Temple before succumbing himself. Avatar Yang Chen confessed to deeds that were in direct violation of her Air Nomad teachings, albeit for what she saw as the greater good. And Zahir, who did not follow the pacifistic ways of the Air Nomads, used his abilities to asphyxiate the Earth Queen Hao Ting. In contrast with other bending disciplines, airbending necessitates constant spiritual awareness, and an airbender who loses this connection can see their skills deteriorate. Jessa, for example, had to augment her airbending with metal fans after becoming a criminal and adopting a more materialistic lifestyle. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.